I don't. You are watching the Pan-African Daily TV with Dr. Susan Tata. The Africa we want. Unity, consciousness, our culture, our spirituality, our history. One Africa for Africans worldwide. Motherlands calling its diaspora home. Join my voice. Join my team. Join my campaign. Campaign 21 hashtag 1 million subscribers on the Pan-African Daily TV YouTube. Be a volunteer. Apply now. Be the new Africa. Okay. Are you watching me? Because I'm watching you. Because we are ready. We are live now on Pan-African Daily TV. I want to salute all of you that will be joining the stream. Okay, I can see most of you joining. The class is about to begin. We're so sorry that we're a little bit late today, but as you know, this is Pan-African Daily TV. We do it the African way. And like I say all the time, warriors don't need to be reminded. It is war in the world, is war on the continent, is war in the DRC. What's that supposed to mean? Means we have to stay upright at any time and be ready for instructions for the commander-in-chief. Isn't it, Professor James?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So yes, we want to actually continue the conversation or the lectures of yesterday on the situation in DRC. Today, we've been following up the situation in Congo, and Africans are actually really speaking out. There are a lot of them that are still confused about the historical background of the situation, but most of them already have been getting, news from different sources. But what I would like to share with us today, after the professor gets into conversation with us, is I think 3 pieces or articles that have been constantly being written by Joshua Maponga on Farmers of Thought, actually expressing his frustration about the leadership and the way they're handling this conflict in the Congo. So I'll just be just like yesterday, when we take a break, I would like to read some of the things that we've been sharing today on Pan-African Daily TV Facebook page. But if you have been following us, you should actually be getting those conversations right now. So, Prof, what is it that we should be talking about today? It's not getting better. Just like you said yesterday, Joshua was also of the opinion that most of these leaderships are protecting their investments through the corporations or foreign corporations that are on the ground in the Congo. And he literally said, if that's not the case, what does the South African army, what is it doing there in the Congo? What is the army of Uganda doing in Congo, and all the others? And so we saw even a speech last week, or I think in the beginning of this week, where the EFF director-in-chief or commander-in-chief, Malema Julius, actually made a clear statement telling South African government to pull out the troops from Congo or fund the troops because they're losing a lot of lives out there. So it actually literally just seems as if, even the government, from what the story is going around, or from what I get to gather, like even the governments that are getting involved, like Rwanda or the others, is because at some kind of they're making some deals with these global corporations, and so they are actually fighting to preserve their own investment, not actually in that context. So
let's rewind, Susan. Rewind the film. Let's go. I'm going to give a summary of Lumumba, because you're not going to understand nothing that's going on in the Congo today unless you understand Patrice Lumumba, unless you understand that history. Otherwise, it'll just be some black folks fighting one another over some natural resources. And that's not exactly what's going on. Yes, that's a part of it, but that's not. Then we'll come to the South Africans. Then we'll come to why they say they're there. Then we'll look at what they're doing. Then we'll look at the Romanian troops. And then we'll look at the Georgian troops. Then we look at the French Foreign Legions, who all those people that the government have there. And the South Africans, well, we'll come to them. But I'm going to do a summary of Patrice Lumumba's life again.
Yes.
Because there's no need to think you up on current news when you don't know the background, because then you don't even understand the current news. So we go back to who was Patrice Lumumba, because we ought to be ashamed of ourselves. Most of us don't even know there was a man named Patrice Lumumba, let alone most of us had never even heard about the Congo until we heard this fighting thing in the news in Al Jazeera and a few other places over the last few weeks.
Correct.
And the country is 3/4 the size of Western Europe. That's how big it is. And that's part of the problem. The Belgians took a bunch of other African ethnic nations and including a part of Rwanda, and created Congo. The British and the Germans did that after the Berlin Conference.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody needs to know, what was the Berlin Conference? It was all about the Congo to start with. You said it yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
The meeting about how to divide the Congo. And then it went beyond the Congo. But it started all about a meeting all about the Congo because of the wealth that Leopold was bringing out of the Congo in the 1870s and the 1880s. So by 1885, all of Europe and America had decided, let's invade Africa. Let's invade North, East, South, and West. And let's conquer it. And we'll say we're coming to civilize them. So we're bringing them civilization. So we will murder millions of them so that we can civilize them. That's what they said, my dear brothers and sisters. And guess what? That's what they did. And you need to understand it so you have a foundation for what's going on in Goma, in the Congo, Rwanda, Uganda today. And you'll understand why there's Romanian mercenaries, why there's Georgian mercenaries, why there's Foreign Legion mercenaries, why the South African troops who were sent there as peacekeepers is fighting an armed struggle. Peacekeepers don't fight an armed struggle against indigenous people if they were sent to be peacekeepers. The South Africans were brought in as mercenaries. Let's call them what they are. They're paid mercenaries. And but we'll come back to that. Let's review Lumumba, the great hero who freed this territory, or led the freedom fight that freed this territory. So he was born in July 1925. It's about 20 things you need to know about him. That's number one. He was murdered by the Americans and the Belgians on 17 January 1961 on the orders of President Dwight David Eisenhower, okay, and the head of the American CIA. And the Belgians, mercenary and Belgian police carried out the actual assassination. Lumumba became the Congo's first prime minister when the Congo became the Democratic Republic of Congo from June until September 1960, following the May 1960 election. Lumumba was an African nationalist and a Pan-Africanist. And listen to that well. That's two different concepts. He was an African nationalist. He was talking about the Africanization of Africa, Africanization of the government, Africanization of the school system, Africanization of the linguistic system that governed the country. And so you're talking about an African nationalist and a Pan-African that believed that Africans from all over the continent and around the world should unite economically, unite politically, unite culturally, and unite spiritually. Lumumba played a major role in the transformation of the Congo from a colony of Belgium into the independent Democratic Republic of Congo. He was one of the primary leaders in that movement, and we should remember these key things. You know, he was educated in the Congo. He was not educated in Belgium or France and then came home. He was educated by his people. He was from the area called the Kasai region, where the Luba people are. And I remember as a young soldier in our movement over here, I took the identity of a Kasai man, and my troop my cell group was called Beluga Troop, and this was in 1967, 68. So I'm proud to know now that he came from Kasai, where the Luba people live. And he had 4 brothers. He was married 3 times. Helps you, man, right? He was married 3 times. He had 1 son. And after a study tour in Belgium in 1956, they arrested him. And they, on suspicion of stealing money from a post office, where he had worked for 11 years without incident. But after he went on that tour of Belgium, they were so frightened, they arrested him on trumped up charges of stealing some money and put him in jail for a year. After his release from prison, he founded the Movement National Congolese, the MNC, and this would be the party that would lead him to be the prime minister of the country. And in December 1958, he represented the MNC at the All African People's Conference in Ghana, where he meets Kwame Nkrumah, and they just come together and take to one another. And Nkrumah became a mentor of him. Nkrumah really respected him and his ideas, and he admired Nkrumah. In October 1959, Lumumba was arrested again for inciting an anti-colonial riot in Stanleyville, where 30 people were killed by the Belgians. In January, in 1960, he attended the Congolese Roundtable Conference in Brussels. Now, this is the meeting when the people in Brussels were trying to figure out how do we establish a neo-colonial structure. Well, they had arrested Lumumba, but they had to let him out of jail because the MNC, his party, won most of the parliamentary seats and allow him to attend this conference. And he opposed the Belgians' views. And on May 25th, 1960, the MNC won a plurality of votes in the first national election in Congo. On 30 June, they had set this as the Independence Day for Congo. Lumumba believed, of course, very strongly in the Africanization of government, and he was deeply inspired by the work of Kwame Nkrumah. And so if we really want to really understand what's happening in the Congo today, you really have to constantly remember the timeline of Lumumba's life and the timeline of the struggle for independence that leads to his assassination by the Americans and the Belgians. And then the coming to power for 30 years of the American puppet, Joseph Mobutu Sese Seko, who robbed the country of billions of dollars while allowing genocide to reign for 30 years in the Congo. And with his removal and the arrival of Kabila, who had fought on the tradition of Lumumba, and because Kabila was from the area of Goma, they said Kabila was not a real Congolese. Now today they want to say the people of Goma is Congolese. But then they said the people of Goma were not Congolese, that they were Tutsis, which they are and have been for thousands of years and have always lived in the Goma area. But it was a treaty between the Germans and the British that took that part of Rwanda and annexed it onto the Congo so that the Belgians could carry out robbing the natural resources. So then we come to, then the assassination of Kabila, and then his pitiful son, Paul, being a puppet of the West. And then we come to the current government, who are also neo-colonial puppets of the West and Western corporation and banking structures that have been robbing the Congo. Congo is one of the most mineral-rich piece of real estate on the planet Earth. Look it up, Google it, people. What natural resources is in Congo? You don't need me to do all that work for you. Do some of the work. What natural resources is found in the Democratic Republic of Congo? What percentage of the world's raw material is in the Democratic Republic of Congo? What size is the Democratic Republic of Congo? It's 3/4 the size of Western Europe. So do these basic things so you have an understanding of what is the fighting about today. Yes, it is about the coltan. Yes, it is about the gold. But that's only a part of what this fight is about. The fight is about the Tutsi people who live in that area, who was never accepted as being Congolese national.
Mm.
That's the ethnic fight that has been going on all this time. And those who carried out that genocide in Rwanda, with the help of the French and the Americans, which people are too afraid to say. I was in Uganda with Paul Kagame having lunch when the plane was shut down and the two presidents were killed. I know more than you think I know. I was in the Jeep heading for the borders. He threw me out and said I wasn't a soldier and I would be killed within a week. Me and Abraham Mahosi. And he said, you go back and you help us tell the West what's going on here in Rwanda. So I was there for that moment in history. Okay. So I don't know whether Paul Kagame is a villain or not a villain. What I do know is that you cannot take this crisis and put it in the lap of Rwanda. You can't take this crisis and put it all of a sudden we blaming all the black folks and all the white folks. We got no criticism now of America. We have no criticism now of Germany. We have no criticism now of Britain. We have no criticism now of Belgium. We have no criticism now of France. Are we crazy? Are we crazy? Have we lost our minds? And then we come to South Africa sending troops. You can't even police the ghettos of Johannesburg.
Mm-hmm.
But you're going to send troops, supposedly peacekeeping troops, to Congo, and then your peacekeeping troops is fighting beside Romanian mercenaries, all of which was captured this week by M23,
Mm-hmm.
and then set free, allowed to go. But the Romanians got defeated. But they're not the first mercenary group. The government have been hiring French mercenaries, Georgian mercenaries, Bulgarian mercenaries, Romanian mercenaries. They're paying the army of Congo $100 a month. When they pay them, they're paying the mercenaries $5,000 a month.
Wonderful.
Okay. So we need to really examine what's going on. And we need to really ask the African Union, the SADC, and the ECOWAS. ECOWAS is upset because the Sahel state is creating a joint passport. They need to be upset about going to the African Union and finding how to intercede in stopping this bloodbath and the rape and the murders that both sides are committing, but mainly the Congolese army that's committing these atrocities. Them and their white mercenaries from Eastern Europe, who are all unemployed soldiers, too afraid to go fight the Russians. So they come to fight the Africans for $5,000 a month. And when they take their vacation, they're on duty there for 3 months or 4 months, and they get 1 month off. And they get $3,000 a month during the 1 month off. Hey, we need to ask, where's that money coming from? And why all of these European soldiers is fighting for the government of the Congo. And it didn't start last month. This has been going on for years. These mercenaries have been making a living fighting in the Congo for years to keep the status quo. M13 has upset, M23, I'm sorry, have upset the status quo. The war in the Congo didn't start yesterday or in 2022 or in 2020. This war had been going on since the assassination of Patrice Lumumba. It is the same imperialist and colonialist forces. They now have puppet governments in their place, like they did Mobutu for 30 years, and they bolster him, a filthy dictator, him and his family, robbing and stealing the country blind. And now they got the other little puppet government pretended to have been elected democratically, who have been bolstered by thousands of mercenaries for decades now. So how do we arrive at the situation in Goma? You got to go back to the annexing of Rwanda. Goma is in Rwanda, but because of the British and the Germany cutting it off so that they could have access to the wealth that was there, it became Congo. If the Congolese have any decency, give Rwanda its land and its people back. They didn't march across the border. They were there when you drew the line in the sand on a piece of paper called a map. That should be the beginning of the negotiations. And then the discussion of how the wealth can be shared between both people. You know, not killing and slaughtering the poor who are caught in the middle. And move the UN. The UN peacekeepers should be put on an airplane and kicked out of Congo, never to see a blue and white uniform ever again in Congo. This is supposed to be the longest peacekeeping effort in the history of the UN, and there's never been peace in the Congo. The UN have been there acting on behalf of the imperialists and the colonialists for as long as there's been a UN. That same UN helped to capture and kill Patrice Lumumba. Tie the pieces together. Don't let them fool you and just villainize Kagame and villainize Uganda without understanding who are the villains that's running the Congo. You don't have to love me because I only love justice for African people. And then the African Union, where are you? Why are you so silent? Where are you? SADC is trying, the organization of the Eastern African group, they have been trying to keep the peace. They have been trying to get peace talks. I give them kudos and I give them credit. They're doing a lot more than the West African Economic Group is doing. The SADC is there trying to find a way to get people to sit down and solve this problem without the guns. And so we should support the East African economic community.
SADC, yeah.
Doing. And we need to praise them for the work that they're doing. But the African Union needs to step in a bigger way to help them and to finance them and to use their voice. I think there was a memorandum that Paul Kagame and his government put out today. There was a number of memorandum, and one where they're denying that their troops are in the territory that's called Congo, but they're on the border protecting their borders with their assets. But because of threats from the mercenaries who had crossed, some of them had crossed into Rwanda, and that's where they were captured in Rwanda and filmed being captured in Rwanda. Okay. These are the Romanian mercenaries fighting for the government of Congo. So there was a memorandum that went out this morning from Rwanda that said, they were moving many of their troops back to protect the capital and protect the essential assets of the country from their borders. But they have a right to protect their borders. And they have a right, if the West is going to support the Congolese government with mercenaries, then certainly Rwanda have a right to support the Tutsi people of the Congo with military aid. That is not a contradiction. But because they're winning, Because the black folks are winning, they get vilified. And they're winning against these white armies of mercenaries that's coming from all over Eastern Europe, financed by everybody from Britain to Germany and it's Britain and Germany calling for sanctions. Please give me a break. Somebody needs to sanction. I know that's your hometown, your home country, but somebody needs to sanction them. But let's get the history right. I don't know who is right. I'm not in a court. I don't have all the evidence on Kagame. I don't have all the evidence on Rwanda. But I do know that that struggle is not what they're trying to tell us. And Paul Kagame and Rwanda and Museveni and Uganda are not, if they are villains at all, they're not the only villains in this drama. Okay, let's find out who the other villains are. And almost all of them are in whiteface, walking around with a bunch of people that put in blackface to represent their interests, called the government of Congo, that can't even feed its people with all the wealth there. If they were to let Goma and that whole area go, they still got more wealth in what's left of Congo than there is in almost all of the rest of Africa. And you can't feed your people. You can't build a road. You can't build a school. China was there trying to help you, but the West convinced you that you had to minimize your relationship to China. It was about 10 years ago when this Canadian businessman negotiated one of the finest deals I'd ever seen in Africa in order to build freeways and schools and hospitals and for the Congo. But you let the West talk you out of that arrangement. All these decades, the West have not built you a decent university.
Nothing.
Have not built you a decent freeway. Have not built you decent hospital and healthcare with all the trillions of dollars they've stolen out of Congo. So we had a song in America. It's called "Talk to Me." Talk to me. Mm-hmm. Talk to me. Tell me the truth about your history. So they need to talk to the African people and say why you're not willing to sit down at a table with M23. You know, why are you not listening to SADC and setting your guns aside? Let those mercenaries go back home. Use that money to pay your own army so that they can take care of their wives and children. That's what we should be seeing. That should be the direction. Pack the South African up and send those children back home. Tell them to go and police the ghettos down in Johannesburg. And then make sure that their people can go to Cape Town without feeling like they're still in apartheid. Making sure that their people can go to so many of the towns in South Africa where they have to be out of town before sundown. Why isn't the South African army taking care of that business? So there's a lot of history here to be unpacked and to be unwrapped. But do the other research. Find out what corporations, what banks are vested in the Congo from the Western world. What shipping ports have control of the ports of the Congo? You know, who dominates the airlines that's flying in and out of Congo? Who's controlling the mining? And this is not in the East, in all the rest of Congo, where you have child labor that's causing the death of thousands of children every year. Let's get that. You want to get some stuff straight? Let's get it all straight. Who's the real government in the Congo? Who are you? You need to take a hint from Lumumba about Africanizing the government. Africanizing the government. Throw out the Belgian structure. Throw out the colonial formulation and Africanize the government of the Congo. And create a government that is inclusive of all of its people and all of its ethnic group and all of its tribal groups and all of its region. and have the wealth, stop all wealth from flowing out of the country until that portion which is appropriate for the people of the Congo is put into a treaty of how it would be shared with the people of the Congo. And maybe you'll have a way to create a peace in the eastern region. Otherwise, you're going to be there fighting another 10 years, killing. Because the Tutsi people are not going to give up, because that's their home. That's the only home they've known. They've never lived in today's Rwanda. They've only lived in today's Congo, which is a concoction geographically of Germany, Britain, and Belgium. After that famous Berlin Conference, which was all about Congo to start with, because of the wealth that was there to be taken and is still being taken by the same people who sat at that table in Berlin, who came and murdered millions of our people in the invasion of Africa, which should have been called the First World War, and nobody even discussed it as a war, where all of our lands was occupied by all of the armies of Europe. Until today, we are still fighting to be free of the armies of Europe that came following the Berlin Conference. Whether they call it colonialism and have convinced you to think colonialism was something good, they convince you that they came to bring you civilization, they convince you that their religion was better than yours, they convince you that their language was better than yours, they convince you that the air they breathe was sweeter than yours, so you want to go to their country to breathe their sweet, filthy air. So what do I say? It's a complex thing, what is going on in Eastern Congo. Is worthy of deep study. Study. Don't let your the Western press and even the Arab press. The Arab press is also the Western press. They cannot be the only information you've got on what's going on in your Africa. Find every other means, including the social media from the young people in Congo, to know what's going on. The young people in Rwanda, the young people in Uganda, listen to them too.
Yes, Prof. We have two youths of Congo that are coming on live on the show tomorrow because we want to hear what they think about the situation and how or what kind of solutions they're looking about it. Because sometimes when even though we go deeper into history, um, the situation on the ground, particularly those on the ground in Congo, is actually different from what we see here. But one thing that you said that is very important, I mean, just going back to the general history, the fact that colonization or slavery, it is just using some these kind of terms, to me, I think is still very minute. Why have they never declared this action a war?
Right.
Why has it never ever been called a war? That the whole world wage a war? Because I think even when they say the West partition Africa,
Yeah.
it doesn't just look like a
with a
war.
gun and a bayonet and cannon and Gatling guns, killing tens of thousands of people.
That was a war.
You call it partitioning of Africa.
Exactly.
Like you walk in with a rope and says, okay, we're going to geographically cut this one. And we're going to no. You
Like
slaughtered
nothing happened.
the Zulu nation. You slaughtered the Ndebele people. You slaughtered the people of the Congo. You slaughtered the people of the Cameroon. You slaughtered the people of the Sudan. You slaughtered the people of Senegal. You slaughtered the people of Gambia. You came with your guns, your cannons, your ships, your soldiers, your sailors, and your missionaries. And you stole our land through a bloody war that lasted almost 100 years, and you don't even call it a battle, let alone a war. And now we are dealing with the results of it, and you're trying to make it look like it's our bad behavior. Oh, the Africans are behaving badly. Oh, they don't know how to govern themselves. oh, they're corrupt. Who's more corrupt than the thief that brought ships and planes to your house to steal everything you had, murder your ancestors, corrupt your society, poison your soil, poison your water in the river with the mercury from the mining, and then they tell you you're corrupt. They put you in a government, put a gun to your head, and said if you do anything pro-Africa, you will be assassinated. So how many of our leaders did you assassinate? I count about 20 in the last 40 years that you assassinated because they tried to make Africa for the Africans. And you said we are corrupt. We don't know how to govern. Then leave us alone. You go away and let us work our business out. If we get the West out of the business in southern Congo, I'm sure they can work it out. Let Sadat come in and sit with the people of that region. Let the African Union find the courage to be an African Union as Nkrumah and the others dreamt, and sit down and says, how can we stop the bloodshed and create an equitable situation so everyone can share in the wealth of this region and rebuild your communities and build some hospitals and build some schools and build some roads and build clean water possibilities. And we got all of the sunlight in the world. We don't need petroleum. Let's build a solar system for what we need that energy for. Wind systems. We got more water in the Congo. The rivers of the Congo could power all of the hydroelectricity Africa needs. The rivers of the Congo alone. Do you hear me? The rivers of the Congo alone can create the hydroelectric power for the entire continent. And we're killing each other over a few mines. But that's not why we're killing each other. It's not just over the few mines. It's about ethnicity. It's about nationhood. It's about history. It's about past atrocities that forgiveness and settlement has never occurred for. There's a lot of things going on there that needs to be considered and worked through. But you have to stop the fighting in order to work through it. So my appeal, if I had any kind of appeal at all, and I know I don't have much, but my appeal is find a way to come to the table and talk about peace.
It's the same thing
Find a
that
way and come
Patrice
to the
Emery
table and
said.
stop the death and the dying
Mhm.
in Congo. Find a way to tell Europe, you go home, you got enough trouble in Europe to fix. You go to the Arab world, take care of the people of Gaza. You haven't with all your Arab wealth. You can't take care of the people of Gaza and you're here messing with us. Well, you just lost over 100,000 women and children and you're whimpering like little puppies in a corner and you're saying salam alaikum. No, the truth is the light. I've walked in Mecca. How you dare say Muslimeen and then you tolerate genocide just so you can own a car and go to university in America and become a doctor and you shut your eyes to the genocide of the children of your mother and your father and then want to come and lecture to Africans about anything. You can't lecture to us about anything. So let us as Africans, let M23 sit down with the Congolese government. Let the Congolese government send the mercenaries back home. Tell the mercenaries to go. That same money, if you were paying your own soldiers, you would get better behavior from them instead of them raping their own sisters. Go to that SADC, go to the African Union, Mr. President of the Congo, and say, let's sit with Mr. President of Rwanda and the President of Uganda and the President of Tanzania and others. Let's sit down and figure out how to resolve this problem and stop the killing of our own people. And let's not be the uncivilized people the West say we are. because they've created us to behave like them. Yes, they've created us to behave like them. And we're just enjoying behaving like them. We like what we see in the mirror, no matter how bloody it is. So I beg you, if I can't do nothing but be one African who beg you to show your African humanity, who beg you, if you believe your Tutsi ancestors had integrity and dignity and was of the God of the universe, then listen to them as they tell you, reach out to your Congolese brothers and find a way to find that table where peace can take place. Who beg you, the Congolese people, your leader from Kasai, your great leader Lumumba is telling you, reach out to your Tutsi countrymen and find a way to sit down and have peace at the table for the sake of the people you all say you're fighting for the sake of the people you all say you're fighting to protect. And our institutions, the African Union, show the spinal cord and the backbone that Nyerere and Lumumba and Haile Selassie and Abdel Nasser, show the spinal cord that they had. Remember how Gaddafi died and why he died. Show Gaddafi he did not die for nothing. By behaving differently than a bunch of little children playing diplomats locked behind some walls in Addis that is totally infiltrated with listening devices in all your walls. You can't even have a meeting that is private because the West have all of their technology and listening device in every meeting room you've got. And you hadn't that sense to burn the whole damn thing down, rebuild it yourself so that you can have some privacy. But I don't mean to be offensive. I mean, only the truth will set you free. That's an ancient African dictum, not a Christian dictum. Know the truth, and the truth alone will set you free. And freedom is not the right to send your children abroad to be educated and to go live in another country while you brag about how you're an African national. But you and your family are not trying to build the African nation that you're pretending to lead. So let's Africanize, like Patrice Lumumba says. Africanize the government. Africanize your personality. Africanize your consciousness. Africanize your intellect. Africanize your families. And then we'll understand by learning our history how to erase the confusion and the mystery that Western corporation and banking interests are still spawning to keep us fighting while they're stealing everything of value that we have. So I know my time is running out. Being an old man and a grandfather, I still have about 15 minutes. Please to see if anyone is listening today and want to ask the question or make their comment.
Yes. I think I could already see some here. Sodo was saying, Prof, what do we do with coons in our midst, our modern day Judases?
We have to organize those who are not coons. We have to come together and not stand as individuals. We must create united political groups. That's Africanized. We must create cultural groups. That's Africanized. We must create spiritual groups. That's Africanized. And what I mean by Africanized, meaning groups that use African culture, African values, African interests as primary. Groups that study African history, African world history, but look at it from the point of view of the African in the historical drama, not from the point of view of the colonizer or the Westerner in the historical drama. And all of these governments, we have the technology to petition them through emails, to petition them through all kinds of other electronic means to let them know the views that we hold that's contrary to what they're doing.
Mm.
If they hear from millions of us and we let them know in the countries you are in, we can elect you. If you got an electoral process, which most country does, the youth can elect anybody they want. But you got to participate. And you've got to educate yourself. And with this computer, with these telephones that we have now, this is nothing but a tiny handheld computer. We can find any information we want on anything in the world. Do the research. Use the technology to help free yourself. And all of the different podcasts across Africa, find a way to unite. If you do, you'll be bigger than CNN.
Mm.
Find a way to unite all of the different podcasts from all of the different nations and unite with your differing views and create your own CNN for the continent, your own Al Jazeera. It doesn't take money anymore to do it. It only takes using the tool that's in your hands. We can do those things without it taking anything from us. You know, walking around singing songs and smoking ganja may look cute to white people who come and jump around with you in Africa, but they can go back to their safe and controlled Europe. And you left dancing with ganja in your hand and swinging your locks, and you're still living in poverty. And you think somehow that's liberation. That is not liberation. That's not what Marley was telling you. Listen to Bob Marley's music. Don't just look at people who are imitating his pictures. Listen to Peter Tosh's music and listen to the lyrics. They're instructing you.
Mm-hmm.
Listen to Burna Boy, who is your modern Bob Marley. Burna Boy is instructing you. Listen to him. Listen to Fella's music. These are your cultural icons, but they were instructing you. They were revolutionary cultural icons. Listen to the message of a Fela Kuti. And you have so many others, some I don't even know, who have come to tell you with their music how to conduct yourself politically and culturally as an African.
Indeed.
This is serious business. We will all die. I'm about 80 years. I'll be dead in a few years. Even if I get 20 more years and make it to 100, many of my family do go there. That's not a long time. Even if you're 20 years old, reaching my age, it happened so quickly. You don't have a lot of time. And remember, our struggle is to provide food, clothing, safety, and security for ourselves and our family. That's the most fundamental of the motivating forces on the human being.
Mm-hmm.
How do we provide food, clothing, shelter, safety? So we can get a job, we can get a profession. How can you do that when all of the wealth of your country is being sold away or stolen away from you? And we're not building any manufacturing facilities to process the very wealth that we're sending on ships and planes to other countries. So we walk around in poverty with trillions of dollars worth of wealth leaving our land every day. Let's make some demands on our leaders. That's why we're fighting down and going to be fighting in Goma to take the raw materials and sell it to someone else instead of creating factories and industry so everyone in our country could provide food, clothing, shelter, safety, and security for themselves and their family. Bottom line, that the economic, politics, and culture where you live should be controlled by the ethnic group that lives there. And there may be multiple ethnic groups that live there. live together, though you may be from multiple groupings. Share the wealth of the land. Provide the food, clothing, shelter, safety, and security for one
Mm.
another. And you won't have to beg anybody. The world will not laugh at you while they rob you. You know, this
Mm.
is serious business. I have to feed when I leave the show. I go to get my grandchildren, and then I bring them in the house. And my wife, who's also an elderly lady, we fix them lunch. And I've already gone earlier and bought their lunch. So we will serve them their lunch. Then we will make sure they do their homework. And we will make sure they watch the news for 15 minutes to see what's going on in the world. Then we will make sure they do a reading from a book on something to do with African or African people. And
Wow.
then they can go outside and play. That's what they do every day. That's our duty, you know. But if you can't provide food, clothing, safety, and security for yourself and your family, you're a slave to every and anybody else. You're living in poverty while you're walking on gold. You're walking on bauxite. You're walking on manganese. You're walking on coltan. You're walking on cobalt. You're walking on diamond. And you have rags on and you're living in poverty and some synthetic shoes made in China. And they who have no wealth are living in opulence, beautiful apartments, beautiful freeway, theaters to go to and relax with your money,
Yeah.
with your money, your gold, your coltan, your cobalt, your manganese, your diamonds, your rubies. They're living wonderfully, and you're begging them, oh, please, Mr. European, I will come on a boat. Give me a job, even at no wage, just enough to eat and live in one room in Europe and freeze in the cold when the winter comes. Look at me. I'm here in the cold, hat. I wish I could get on the plane and get to Africa right now.
Mhm.
I will be in a month. I will be home. Oh, thank God. So, food, clothing, shelter, and safety is our motivation. How do we make sure we can provide this for our family, for our children, our grandchildren, our wives? We must do this by taking control of the economic, politics, and culture in the lands we live in. And we could do this without slaughtering one another. We
Mhm.
don't have a single gun factory in Africa. We're not making any of this ammunition. We're not making any of these guns. Our enemy is giving these things to us, so we kill one another while he's stealing constantly. His planes are flying out of the country with all of our wealth on it. His ships are moving out of the country with all of our wealth on it while we're shooting at each other and slinging an AK across our shoulder. And
Mm.
that makes us important. While our wife is in the street begging for handouts. And our children is walking around and barefoot and tattered clothes begging for food. When we just killed our brother so that he would not stop the enemy from putting the wealth on the plane or on the ship and take it away. It's that simple. It's really that simple. We need to understand how simple it is. You don't have to go to a university to know how to be free.
Mhm.
Oh, thank you. This is my Kente jacket made by my brother George in Kumasi. And so I have one, my wife have one.
It's the
And
mud
it
clothes
actually is
from Mali.
very warm in America. This is a very warm jacket. It is warm, it is beautiful. It's mud cloth that comes from Mali
Mm. Burkina Faso too.
and Burkina Faso, yes.
Mm.
So, but just back to our conversation, because I know I have to go soon and pick
Mm.
the babies. Um, let's end colonialism. Let's end tribalism. Let's end regionalism. Let's create the Africanization, the one Africa that Lumumba was talking about.
Mhm.
And yes, you can't just do it with just conversation, but conversation is where you can begin, where we can begin to talk to each other. But how we train, I'm a good example. My people in America, because of us being enslaved in this country, we come from Cameroon, Congo, Yorubaland, Akan, Mendi, and I have about 5 others that makes me up. And some of the small percentage, 3% of the native people from here that you call Indians. So I am Pan-African. My DNA is Pan-African. I'm a Pan-African biological conglomerate, you know. And many of us, even on the continent, many of us are. Someone migrated from Nigeria to Cameroon, and someone migrated from Sierra Leone to Nigeria, and someone migrated from Ghana to Gambia, and then someone fell in love, and then their children migrated to, and then we become one Africa. This is one of my daughters. Let me just see. Yes, Nadia.
I guess. I'm going to pick up Maria.
Okay.
She has an appointment at 3 o'clock. So
Okay.
I'm on my way somewhere.
Okay, then I can finish my show with Ms. Susan Tata because I'm on there and the whole world is hearing you. So thank God you pick her up. I'll pick up the other two at 3:40. Okay.
Okay.
That's the way the family hookup works, you see.
So we
And
still have another hour with you.
We argue, me and Carol was arguing this morning. We argue about different things we disagree about. Sometimes we argue about things that isn't even worth arguing about. But what we struggle for is to maintain this African family.
Mm.
And what we struggle for when we see behind me all those pictures, how could I show you? All those, oh no, yeah, that's a good way. All those are ancestors. See all those people there? They're the people that make me who I am. My great-great-grandfather, my great-great-grandmother, my great-grandmother, my grandmother, my grandfather, my mother, my father, my great-uncle, my great-uncle, my great-cousin, my brother, my sister, who are all ancestors. They be like, I'm their representative. I'm the prime minister that they've sent forth. You know?
Mm-hmm.
And our ancestors will cry and keep crying because we're not doing what we're supposed to. We're breaking their hearts, even in the ancestral world. They're crying because we want to claim Africa, own our culture, own our spirituality, own our history, unashamedly. If my priest come and she dance in a grass skirt, I own her in her skirt. If her breast is hanging and flopping in front as she's dancing, and I will own those breasts that fed all of those mouths and filled all of those bellies that she gave birth to. I will understand the integrity of the African woman, who's the leader of our ancestral realm, that I'm here to die for you. Lumumba died for you. Sekou Touré suffered and then died for you. And Nkrumah got overthrown and died for you. Emekal Cabral died for you. Martin King died for you. Or Malcolm X died for you. Sojourner Truth, Harriet Tubman, they died for you. Yas Santiwa, they died for the ancestors that came before them. Why did they die? Because we have a right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We have a right to be able to provide food, clothing, and shelter and safety for our children and our women. That should be our foundation motivation. And never give up. Never, ever give up. I'm sure when they were cutting gasoline into pieces in Haiti after they betrayed him, he was still crying out, freedom or death. Never give up. Because we've got to be able to heal ourselves. And this fighting in Goma, yes, I'm proud that you defeated the mercenaries that came from Romania. I'm proud that you defeated the French Foreign Legion mercenaries because they're confessing, they're saying who they are. And we didn't slaughter them. We released them to the UN. They're all hiding in the UN camp now. You know, you got your $5,000 a month to come and kill me. But I still sent you back, go home to your family. But we have to be able to look at each other and say, we will put these guns down in Eastern Congo. I know it's not that simple, it's more complex. But the discussion has to be on how we put the guns down and have a conversation before we kill ourselves off while the West just stand by and laugh and say, oh, we do not have to fight them. We just stand by, give the foolish ones the guns. Let them kill one another off, and then we will walk in and take over everything. We will call it peacekeeping. We've come to make the peace. But now you've killed off your best men. There's no one to fight us anymore. So now we will come in with our armies, and we will come with AFRICOM, and we will come with MI6, and we will come with CIA and USAID and French Foreign Legion, and we will come all under the flag of the United Nations. But we will still steal your coltan. We will still steal your gold. We will still steal your diamond. We still won't build your hospitals. We still won't build your schools. We still won't build your roads. We still won't build you shopping centers and supermarkets like the rest of the world, so that you can have a quality life, especially with all the wealth you have. So petition the African Union, petition SADC, petition the president of Rwanda, petition through emails the president of Uganda, petition the president of Congo and South Africa, and all in that region. Let them hear from millions of us that they need to stop it. They're supposed to be the leaders. They're supposed to be the highest of our intellect, and they're slaughtering our babies and our women. Let them see the shame. But yet we want to make sure that those who understand that they must defend ourselves against imperialist dominance be vigilant, not to disarm yourself, but to know to whom the arms should be used against. So we can do it. We could use this internet and social media to change the world that we live in. Have the courage to do it. Your voice is typing on the keypads and hitting send. That's all you have to do. Type a short note and hit send to your leadership. Not just your political leadership, to your so-called religious leadership, because they're sitting there dressed up in their fancy clothes, calling themselves the prophet this and the prophet that, with big billboards while all this is going on. Sitting, having dinner beside the very people who are pulling the triggers, who are carrying out the rape. Petition them too. So your churches will be empty on Sundays. Your mosques will be empty on Fridays if you do not stand up against those who are committing the atrocities against our women and our children. Because at the end of the day, that's who's suffering, our women and our children. So what can I say, Sister Susan? I'm trying to get rid of the cold that you gave me through the internet yesterday.
I'm so sorry. I know. I'm sorry. We're just healing from it. It's very true what you're saying, Professor. That's just the reality that we're facing, and we can only do our work.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, we have all the possibilities to reach out. Sometimes we just, I don't know, feel comfortable or but I see a lot of people, the suggestion that you're saying here, um actually everybody has a phone. If they can connect on Pan-African Daily TV, they can research all these stories, they can get contact. The world is so connected these days. Whether it's on Instagram or you type anything
Mhm.
on Google, it gives you a result,
X,
a search
whatever we're
result.
using,
Yes,
let's
the
use
situation.
this medium
Yep.
to let the world know that we hear the
Mm-hmm.
truth.
Mm,
We see the truth.
mm,
We, as the youth of Africa, well, not me, I'm the old man, but you, as the youth of Africa, have decided that you will take the responsibility for your future in your hand.
mm,
And Malcolm
mm,
has told us the secret to life is to have no fear.
mm,
The secret to life is to have no fear. We will all die, and none of us know when or by what means. One
mm,
day. So do not be afraid of anything. Make sure your women and your children can have food, clothing, shelter, safety, and security.
mm,
They've suffered enough over the last 500 years. We should end the suffering of our families, especially our women and our children. We cannot rationalize it with the bravado of a rifle and a pocket full of bullets that just killed the Moor, while the enemy stand aside waiting to see how many less do we have to deal with now. So, and here we are. We will be free. I believe the African youth will take the leadership
oh,
of the
they
African
are. Of course, they are, Professor. They are doing it. Sometimes, like when they eat, when the challenges come like this, we don't see what the young people, even most of the conflicts we're saying, this is selected topics. In Africa, every day people are just going on with their life, like nothing is actually happening. The issue, one of the things is like when these things happen, we are like the leaders pushing out this information. I mean, I'm telling you,
Mhm.
the continent is booming like crazy. Young people are leading, they're creating businesses, they're creating impact in their communities. The continent is turning in its own way, like never would it be erased. No matter what kind of evil they bring on the continent, it will
Mm.
never be erased. They would have done it 5,000 or 500 years ago, Professor, like you
Yeah.
say all the
No,
time.
we will win. As Swapo taught us, we will win. But we have to be eager about winning.
Yes.
We have to be eager about winning. Um, I've never, like people dream of being football players, and I played football in high school and in college, but I only did it because I was big enough, and I wanted to represent my people, right? All I ever wanted to be was a freedom fighter. That's all I've ever wanted.
It's in you.
When people thought I was crazy, oh, here comes James with that black stuff. Oh, he's talking that African stuff again. I go to the parties, no girls would dance with me. They say, "Oh, you're just gonna talk the black stuff. You're gonna talk about Africa." And I go like, but when I kiss you and I talk about Africa, the kiss tastes even better. So, and then there were some sisters who go like, that's a good African kiss. And even the one who fussed with me all the time, I've been married
Yes.
to her for 54, almost 55 years. So she must have thought the African kiss was a good kiss.
Mm,
And so don't be afraid to stand your African ground. Even with the people who walk by your side when they say,
mm,
"Oh, you're gonna get in trouble," or "Oh, you don't want to do this because this may cause trouble."
mm.
Freedom fighting is causing trouble. You're supposed to cause trouble with
And
the
that's the
enemy
best
of
thing to
your people.
do. Just imagine
Remember,
how
we're the
boring life would
representative
just be,
the
Professor.
ancestors. We're the ancestors' soldiers. We're
Mhm.
the ancestors' representative going forward for the
Mm.
sake of protecting our women and children, who's our future. That's who we are.
Freedom movements and engagement, Professor, like you said, is the best ever thing to live for in life,
yeah.
and go back to your ancestors and say, yeah, I did it. I don't know any other thing that actually is cool, like just standing up for the rights of people in the world, regardless
Mhm.
of their background. There's nothing just cool like being engaged. I don't understand how people could just leave to just work, end their lives, and sleep, and then die someday without
Yes. It's
creating some impact. This is just not like
the
challenging the structures upon whom we pay our monies as taxes, upon
what
whom we work in their companies. There's just no way.
hmm And what we do, let me tell the people, to get to a spirit, I always try to drop a little spiritual science. What all I'm asking you to do, if you're afraid to fight, loan your body to an ancestor who's not afraid to fight.
Yes.
Tell Patrice Lumumba, Patrice, oh, they chop your body up. You have no more body, Patrice, but guess what?
Give me your
Come
soul.
use mine. Use my body, Lumumba. Use my body, Malcolm X. Bring your spirit in me and use my body is available for you because
Okay.
I am you and you are me. Ubuntu. Even with the ancestors, it's Ubuntu.
Oh yes. Honestly, I can believe that there are a lot of people who actually, even in their let me say, in their society where they're not mobile, they cannot act. I mean, you see activists everywhere. Even those that cannot speak, they have the language for activism. Those that are sick on the bed, they can text, they can post, everything. We are many. We are just so many. And when you're a born freedom fighter, you're born. I was born like that. I started
Remember,
revolving things from the village to today.
what
Everything
is,
that was not right, I would
yes,
never stand for it.
and you remember what Stephen Biko said. And Stephen, you can have my body today, any day. It's getting old, it's getting broken down, my knees are bad. Everything else is working fine. Stephen said, Stephen Biko, the great baby from South Africa,
Mhm.
that the greatest weapon in the hands of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed.
Oppressed.
Just reverse that then. The greatest weapon in the hands of the oppressed is the mind of the oppressed. Okay?
Mm, mm. Say it again.
And
Say it again, Prof. I was busy, kind of like somebody
yes,
was
Stephen
asking.
said the greatest weapon in the hands of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed.
Oppressed. Yes.
And we are telling Stephen, we hear you. So now we're going to say the greatest weapon in the hands of the oppressed is the mind of the oppressed in his
Ashe.
own hand.
I hear you.
Yeah.
Perfect. Just on point. And we are many.
Yeah.
Mm.
We're nearly
TSM
4
said, I loan my
billion
body.
Africans worldwide. Nearly 4
Yes.
billion. Yes, my sister loaned her body to Harriet Tubman. Thank
Yes.
you. And so
Nana.
if we all loan our body to an ancestor, we will begin to change the world in the moment we begin to realize the possibility of doing this thing. And in
Ya
African culture,
Asantewa.
in African spirituality, it tells you that you can
Yes.
loan your body to any ancestor you want. Some
Mm,
call that possession, but we got to take it out of the trivial context and put it into scientific reality.
mm.
Your body is available for the use of any ancestor.
I
So,
loan mine to Professor James Small. I
well,
loan
I'm
my
not an
soul, my
ancestor
body,
yet.
and
I'm so
everything.
busy loaning mine out too, you know. But you understand what I mean. Think of it,
Yes.
brothers and sisters, on a very high level.
Mhm.
There is the macro. Why did you do that? Somebody just cut me off for some reason. That was a phone thing. But think now, when we're thinking on African spirituality, we talk about African spirituality. But what a lot of people is calling African spirituality is the Christian and Islamic or the Abrahamic and Judaic Isation of Africa. No, Africa is none of those methodologies.
Mhm.
African sacred science overrides all three of those Abrahamic methodologies. They don't work. They don't work. The African methodology, we use it every day and we don't even know we use it. The ancestors walk in you every day and you don't know they're walking in you. What if you realize they're walking in me and you know who to invite into yourself? And say, have your way with me. I'm healthy. I'm staying strong. I'm in good shape. So that you can use your mind, your great mind, that they took the body away because your great mind. You bring your great mind in my body now.
Mm.
And you do what you do. You know, you do what you do. Oh, I see Mama One Africa here. How are you? Love you very much, my dear. Love you very much.
You-
So,
She says you've been her teacher for more than 50 years, Professor.
oh, she's so sweet. She's being modest. She's been teaching me. She's been teaching me through all of those years. So, but but I'm trying to give you something in the spiritual warfare.
Mm.
Make your body available. All of your Yoruba, your Ebi. When you come back to your Ebi, make your body available for the ancestors to return. The reason we have an outdooring and the reason we hold the baby in for 8 days, 6 days, is to make sure who have returned
Mm.
in this body we are now providing.
Mm.
So let's be clear what we're doing. Let's nurture our sacred science, right? So that we are clear that you can't ever defeat us. You can only confuse us in our own ignorance and let us defeat ourselves. Rise out of your ignorance. Rise out of your ignorance. Become your ancestors again. I've
Mm.
told you in some of my lectures, your mother and your father, when they gave birth to you, they were giving birth to themselves.
Yes.
So when they die in the bodies that they gave birth out of, they continue to live in the bodies they give birth to.
Ashe.
So your ancestors is forever riding on the wave of its
Mm.
constant creation and recreation of itself. But you have to be conscious enough to allow them to live in the new body they've designed for themselves. And that's where history and cultural teachings come in.
Mm.
And this is
Mm.
not spookism. This is what they call it. They call it astro theology, um, cosmic understanding. Astrophysics can best describe African spirituality. Matter of fact, astrophysics is the only science I know that can describe African spirituality in a meaningful way. You understand? So let's not be afraid to be our ancestors.
Mm.
Sometimes just to make me strong, I go back on the slave ship. And I don't just suffer what the brothers suffer. I suffer the rape, the abuse that the sisters suffer on the slave ship so I can know why I'm fighting. I suffer the whips on the brother's back and the pistol to the head so I can know why I'm fighting. You see, it's always got to be freedom or death. Secret to life is to have no fear. This will never happen to us again because we know who we are. I am my ancestors. And my ancestors is the very thread to the divine, which is the cosmology and ecology and the universe itself, out of which we emanate. And it is our responsibility, it is the African's responsibility to heal the wounds that the abscess have caused in God itself by the way we behave. You know, I hope people understand what I'm saying. We can defeat them the moment we decide we no longer want to be them. We can defeat them the moment we decide we no longer want to be them. We can defeat them the moment we decide we no longer want to be them. Then they die. The greatest weapon in the hands of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed. The greatest weapon in the hands of the oppressed is the mind of the oppressed. Use your mind to guide your behind in the direction of your ancestors. Know that you're fighting for your women and your children to be able to wake up in the morning and have shelter over their heads, to be able to wake up in the morning and have food in their belly, to be able to wake up in the morning and know they're protected from harm. That's all we're asking for. And that's why we need to use the raw materials that God has given us to ensure food, clothing, shelter, and safety and security for our women and our children. That's not saying anything more than any human being on earth should say. But we got to say it, then do it by any means necessary. Say it and do it by any means necessary. You know, sometimes when I travel around the streets of America or even around Africa, and I'm driving down the highway, say from one capital to the other, and I see my people suffering, but I know they don't have to be suffering at all. And I watch the ones who are causing them to suffer go by in their big SUVs, go to the airport and get on their plane and go back to their countries. And go home and talk about our poverty and our ignorance, which is not real. And come every day to drink from the cup that we have designed, to drink from the sustenance that our ancestors have put in that cup.
Mhm.
We got to bring this to an end. And yes, now I'm being metaphorical, but study history. It'll erase the mystery. Study what's going on in the southern Congo and then all of the Congo. Study the life of Patrice Lumumba. Study the time of Kabila. Study the time of Mobutu and see the atrocities he committed on behalf of the West against our people. Study Leopold and see the 25 million of our people plus that he slaughtered in the Congo. Study the Berlin Conference that set it all up, with all of the nations of Europe and America and Canada and Australia all being a part of it from the very beginning. And all are still a part of it today. Now they tell us, oh, we will bring our armies and we will protect you from the terrorists. We will protect you from ISIS. Yet they've created ISIS. They create the very disease they want to protect you from. You know, and that gives them the opportunity to bring their military occupation into your country at your invitation. It is, oh, let us train your army. So they'll make sure they're trained a force that will overthrow you if you ever stand up as an African person. They haven't changed the formula since Nkrumah. The same formula. Because we haven't learned what the formula is. You remember the two groups that's fighting in Sudan?
Mm-hmm.
The one who was called the Rapid Deployment Force, that was trained by the Americans. And the minute the Sudanese people tried to build a government of their own, all of a sudden the one that the Americans trained are going to attack the government that's trying to recreate itself. And we don't get it. We still invite them. Bring your Navy SEALs. You got the best trained army in the world. Yes. The reason you have the best trained army in the world is to go out and conquer other people. And then we get so foolish. We say, oh, bring your beautiful army in to my country. You know, we won't even search you. You can bring all the drugs into our country, bring all the cocaine and heroin in you want, and get our young people hooked on the cocaine and heroin. Then come with your FBI and tell us how to arrest them and put them in prison. Hey, USAID, wake up. Someone said, what happened to those who passed away without having any offspring? Choose one. There's so many children in the world that need you to be their father or their mother. And you can transform the DNA of any child with your spiritual enemy, with your love and your caring and your raising, and make that child just as though it came out of your womb itself.
Indeed.
Okay.
Indeed.
So that's why in Africa, every baby belonged to everybody. Nobody was going to figure, oh, the mother and father died and the child is an orphan on the street corner begging. No. That may happen today because we're pretending and imitating Europeans. That didn't happen back in the day. My father was not my genetic father. When he married my mother, I was 3 or 4 years old. No greater man as I've ever met walking the earth. He married a woman who had 11 children, and he raised all of us. And he had 2 children with my mom. My youngest brother passed away, and my baby sister, who stole my heart. We tell each other every few days how much we love one another, even though we're in our 70s and 60s and 70s now. But my father was such a great man, and everything about him became me. He created me out of his very spirit. You know? And so you don't have to genetically produce a child to genetically transform that child. You do not have to genetically produce a child to genetically transform that child with your love and your spirit and your energy and your guidance and your understanding. Me and my father are so close that the day he died, he told me the day before what time to be back at the hospital. I was busy running around with the Santa Hene from Ghana, who was our King of Kings, who was here in America, and with the mayor of New York. And I got there 2 hours late. He said, be here at 3 o'clock tomorrow. I said, I'm here. But I had the little baby with me, the one whose children you see running around me sometimes. And when I got to the hospital and I got the guard to hold the baby for me, I went upstairs. And when I got off the elevator, I see his bed was unmade. So I knew he was gone. And the nurse came and said, oh, Mr. Small, your father passed. And so my first concern was that he wasn't alone because he asked me to be there and I was late. So I said, who was with me? So your mother was here and your uncle and auntie was with him when he left. I said, what time did he leave? She said, 3 o'clock. The same time he told me to be there. Because he knew he was going to leave at 3 o'clock the next day. You know? But the day before we had such a long talk, he gave me all the instructions, what to do for my mother, what to do with his papers, what to do even with his clothing. He even told me where his brand new Fruit of the Loom underwear was that he hadn't even opened yet. He wanted me to take that box for me. We was like tight like that, you know. So no, you don't have to be the genetic father or mother of a child to be the genetic father or mother of a child. Your energy can transform the world and will transform the very genes, the very DNA structure in the child that you raise with true love in your heart. But I know I have to check my time. Okay, still got time. I still got another 15 minutes so we can use that time.
Thank you.
I'll pick up the babies.
Thank you, Professor.
But I hope that piece I'm trying to say at the end. So we were talking about the war and the politics and that thing. But what makes us African is the same thing that makes the divine or the God of the universe the God of the universe. And that is our realization that we and it are the same. We are the macrocosm, microcosm. It is the macrocosm. We are the miniature divinities. But we have to learn how to be divine.
Mm-hmm.
And that brings us back to taking care of our women and children, food, clothing, shelter, safety, and security, control of the economic, politics, and culture where we live, control of the land, labor, and resources where we live. And we can do this without having guns to determine the relationship that's necessary for equality of distribution of wealth to take place. Our ancestors already designed multiple models that we can use. And that's why the study of history is so absolutely essential. And despite the crisis in Rwanda now, look and see how Rwanda settled the issue using an ancient African ancestral system of those who were involved in committing the genocide in Rwanda. They didn't seek vengeance and slaughtered a bunch of people before a firing squad. They used an African system that required first admitting the crime, then forgiving for the crime, but working off reciprocity to the families to whom you had committed, against whom you had committed the crime, and becoming a part of the community again and be rehabilitated to be your human self again. Only Africa do that. Only Africa do that. And I'm not going to let the war in Goma define Rwanda and what they've been through. It is a crisis. Everybody, including the government of Rwanda, have to take responsibility for the ongoing crisis. But we can't lay that all on the shoulder of Rwanda and Kagame. Everybody involved in this crisis must assume responsibility, from the mercenaries of South Africa who were supposed to come out as peacekeepers and now playing the role of mercenaries, fighting beside the Romanian mercenaries and the French Foreign Legion mercenaries and the Georgian mercenaries from Europe. They slaughter us as members of the European armies. Then they come back after they leave the European army as professional soldiers and killers to slaughter us again. And we pay them to do it. You know. So let's study the history of the region. Let's study the history from the Berlin Conference to today. Let's study the history of Uganda. Let's study British colonialism in Uganda. Let's study how they wanted to how the UN wanted to make Uganda Israel. You know, and then you'll understand the rise of Idi Amin Dada, who they made us think was an enemy. They made us think with their media that he was an evil man that was slaughtering people all over Uganda. They even made the Ugandans think he was evil. But study the history of Idi Amin. Listen to his speeches. Listen to his explanation for his actions. Listen to those who supported him, both whites and blacks. And you said somebody lied to you one day. Then he lied to you in his newspaper, in his radio, and on TV another day. But any African that would say Africa's for the Africans at home and abroad. The other day, they just pardoned the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey, who they put in prison in America, who had committed no crime. His only crime was to say Africa for the Africans at home and abroad. His only crime was to say African people unite. His only crime was to say that Africans can organize to drive the colonizers out of Africa. So they said, oh, he sent one envelope through the mail and made a promise that wasn't true. So we're going to charge him with mail fraud, and that's a federal crime, and let's put him in prison. And even that was a lie. Then ostracize him and and kicked them out of America. You know. And we saw them do the same with Yahasantiwa. She's fighting the British in her beloved Kumasi. In her beloved Ashanti, she's fighting for the sake of her ancestors and her people. And they're going to put her in prison in the slave dungeon and then move her from the slave dungeon to the Seychelles Islands where she dies, never to come back home again. But she's home now because Jerry John Rawlins went to the Seychelles Islands and took her bones and brought them back to Ghana and gave her a funeral, a state funeral in Ajisu, a hometown. I was there at that funeral.
They did it also for Patrice Lumumba. They brought his tooth last 2 years from
Yes.
Belgium.
Yes.
Dr. Professor
Imagine
Theophile Obenga
Yes.
actually did that project. Yeah.
So we've got a lot of history to learn and to understand. And it's a beautiful history because we fought. We never gave one day without fighting for freedom. Not one day. And in some of my speeches, how Africa was conquered by Europe is one of the DVDs I have on YouTube, where I talk about the Battle of Islamabad, where I talk about the fighting of Sechuaya, where I talk about the fighting with the great Zulu king, Bombata, where I talk about the great victories in the Sudan by Muhammad Ahmed, where I talk about the great victories of Menelik in Ethiopia. And there were many, many other victories we had fighting the enemy after the Berlin Conference. He didn't win Africa easy. He had to fight. But we did not have gun technology. And that was our weakness. And his gun technology brought us down to our knees. But we know him well now. We know him so much better now. Even with his gun technology and his missiles and his bombs, we know how to defeat him now. Because we are in every house he's ever built for himself at home. We serve his meals. Whether he wakes up from his sleep or not is all in our hands every day, all over the world. Freedom or death. Become your ancestors. Remember your ancestors, and they will always be there to instruct you and to inform you of what your duty to your race is. Remember your ancestors. They will always be there to instruct you and to inform you of what your duty to your race is. Anyway, that might frighten people. It's so small. He's saying all those dangerous sounding things. He's frightening us. He's making us think, no. Reach out your hand, and your hands are open. And I will reach my hands, and my hands is open. Don't reach your hands with your fists closed. Don't reach your hands with your hands turned down. Reach with your hands open to me, and I will reach with my hands open to you. Does that make sense? You know, if you want to African spirituality must become our reality. African spirituality must become our reality. That's how we will win and conclude these battles we find ourselves in. You know? And so again, we appeal to those in Southern Congo, and we appeal to the different organized bodies, the SADC, the African unions, and the Western organization and Southern organizations to please come together as forcefully as you can to put those guns down, to silence those guns, to let people come in to help our women and our children. And whatever we conclude, have every single blue and white United Nations force leave our land and never to ever come back again in any guise. let our intent be clear. If our
Mm.
intent is to unite, if our intent is to share the wealth, if our intent is to take care of our women, if our intent is to take care of our children, then our will carry out that intent to
Mm.
its positive conclusion. Please visit the site, the website of the Pan African Daily TV, and please donate generously to Pan African Daily TV. It's one of the webinars and podcasts that takes our information all over the African world. And we hope that we're giving useful information. So please, please, please join the Pan African network and contribute to the Pan African Daily TV so that we can continue to do this. Because Miss Susan could go on and work in other places. She's a woman with a PhD. She chooses to do this work, for you and for me. And that's why I have no problem coming home whenever I can and loan my tiny little bit of knowledge and my tiny little bit of understanding to this effort, And then I'll tell my brothers, because it's all over the world. Today I went to my urologist. I got to tell them this. My PSA was at 67 when I had the procedure 2 years ago. My PSA was at 12 when I visited the urologist 3 months ago. And I'm pretty sure my PSA will be below 6 this time. So take care of your health, brothers. Check on your prostate constantly.
Yes. Mm.
Find out what foods and drinks you need to eat to keep a healthy prostate. And there's a lot of herbs and stuff within our culture that will help us. But you have to pay attention if anything is not functioning just right in that urinary tract area. This hit our men so hard across the African world. It's not just in Africa, in North America, in the Caribbean, wherever we're living. This is one of the greatest hit that we're getting with this prostate cancer thing, And I battled for 35 years the enlarged prostate. It's supposed to be as big as a walnut. Mine was as big as a grapefruit. So the suffering I went through for 35 years until they came up with a methodology to shrink it. And it was difficult, 3 hours on an operating table, but I got it shrink. So don't be afraid, brother. Go and take care of your health. And your heart is the other thing, because of the way we eat, clogging up our arteries. We can't fight for our women and children if our arteries is clogged up and we're dying from strokes in our 40s, heart attacks in our 40s and 50s. So we have to learn to eat well and eat lots and lots of vegetables and do a lot of walking and a lot of exercise. And this is true for the sisters too. You put on this extra weight because we're eating too much carbs and you're not doing enough exercises. And we have to practice. How do we keep our bodies alive? So if our bodies stay alive, the ancestors have a good temple to come in and do the work. We've got to keep this temple appropriate so that energy can come and work through it and do its job. It's not going to come in a broken down temple, a temple that's full of cigarette smoke and tobacco smoke, a temple that's full of alcohol or other drug use. That temple is not going to be worthy of the coming of the spirits of the universe.
What time did they get off the bus at?
I'll come down and meet them. It's usually 3:40. Are you at our house?
I'm outside of my car.
Okay. Yeah, okay. So this is 3:40, the little ones be coming.
Okay.
Okay, sweetie. I'll be looking out for the kids. You gotta, when you got a bunch of little kids, everybody in the family got to do their part. That's my youngest daughter, and 2 of her children come to my house every day. They live just about 2 blocks around the corner from us, down the street. So the struggle is about Africa. Africa is about family. Family is about love. Love is about having knowledge and understanding of self. To understand self, you must understand the race itself. To understand the race, you must understand the history of the race. It is useful indeed, Prof, and we appreciate you, Sister Susan, and all the guests who makes time to come and educate us. Thank you, my brother, Mokorwani. So, but that name, you're from the southern sector of the continent, the Shipo. I don't know, that sounds like
South Africa, I think.
Zimbabwe or South Africa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brother Sipo, where are you from? Type it in the chat. Mokowane. Mokowane Sepo. I think that should be Uganda. South African. I said it. Professor, I just won.
You did. Okay. All right. South African energy. Yes.
Thank you so much, Sipo.
You know, we just have to understand that our ancestors had it right. Because we lost that physical war with the enemy and his guns, don't mean we had it wrong. We had it right. Sex is not love. Sex is something people who love one another do to replicate themselves, right? Love is recognizing the divine in yourself and finding partnership with someone who you also recognize the divine within. So it is the God in me loving the God in you. That's love. And with that, you get some perks, you know. So we should always remember that.
Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you, Callisto. And I think the other brother who just donated $50 and this one $20. Thank you so very much.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, because anything will help. Everything will help keep this program on the air and keep us going. Sometimes I've seen my sister come on and she's sick, she's tired, and you says, "Oh my God!" But she still makes sure she puts a Joshua Mapunga before you. She puts a PLO Lumumba before you. She puts what's my child from Haiti? Oh my goodness, Baino Bello before you. She puts Escalated Dante before you. You know, she puts Obata before you. She puts a Wade Nobles before you. All these great teachers to try and give us some bit of information that we could take back to our family and take back to our community and take back to our organization. So I like this one. Brother Johnson said, "Let us pray for the Tutsis, the Rwandese, direct and Congo Goma conflict. This is tricky. It's Anglophone, Francophone involvement by proxy. I was there in 1990. Nothing has changed." And I agree, it's tricky, and we have to be clear to understand it, because the enemy is trying to put all the blame on us while he's sitting back with his hands folded, trying to play cool. And we cannot let him get away with this. He's done this same strategy so often, and we fall for it so often. That's why we are begging the nations involved to please reach out to your counterpart, override anything the media has to say, and talk to one another. But how can we stop the fighting, save our people, while controlling our wealth for our people? How can we stop this fighting, save our people, while controlling the wealth for our people? Go back one, Susan. Could you go back to what brother was up before he was talking about? He just got diagnosed.
Yes. That's why. All right, this one.
I just got diagnosed with cancer last month. I'm in its early stage. I have been getting checked every year, so they caught it early. That's what getting checked up does. I know a lot of time brothers and sisters don't have the finances, but sometimes don't be afraid. It doesn't take that much finance to go and have a checkup. And you will see some things that may be going wrong. You know what the abnormal things are in your body. And when you see certain things happen abnormally, go to a doctor, you know. And most doctors in most countries will treat you because there's whether you have money or not, because the state have a way to compensate for those who don't have money in almost every country I know, including at home in Africa. Many times you go to the hospital and you don't have the money, but there's always sometimes you can work out how I can pay off this bill, you know, and you will still be seen. And sometimes it's very difficult if you don't have the money right then.
Mhm.
And that's why we have to fight to get decent medical care in the countries of Africa. We've got to get decent hospital. We've got the caregivers. We have some of the best medical schools in the world in Africa.
Mm.
But we don't have the money to pay our doctors, and they all leave and go abroad.
Mm.
You know, our nurses leave and go abroad. You know, Brother Melvin said he had no symptoms. Same thing with me, Brother Melvin. I had no symptoms, but I was like you. I was constantly getting checked. And in that scale of 1 to 10, I felt, thank God, at 3. And so, if anything flare up, I'll be gone a long time before it caused me any harm. And because I was able to go through that serious shrinking process called embolism catheterization, that neutralized the growth by cutting off the blood and the oxygen, which is a new procedure that they're doing. And this is for the brothers to hear me. We're talking about this prostate, which is really giving us a hard time here, you know. But like I said, I went through 30 something years of struggle and just gotta never give up. You just got to keep on going, and keep trying to find a way to work it out.
Professor,
So, Sister
I wanted
Susan?
to say, yes, I wanted to say something very important concerning these health issues, and that's
Yes.
why we'll be
Oh, right.
coming, we'll be organizing this private webinars.
Hmm.
The program would be available on the website, theafricawewant.com, because there are a lot of information, like you just said, Africanized Africa, and a lot of I just don't know how I can express it here, but I think you all understand what I mean. So we're going to be organizing private webinars. If you go on the website, you just see webinars and even campaigns, but there's still not information on it. By this weekend, there's going to be all the information. Professor James would actually be giving webinars on this issue of health in our, as we grow elderly. We also have women that will be coming up to give, health tips, and not just only, going back to Sankofa, but even holistic, let me call it. That's how they put it in the modern term, holistic solutions,
Hmm.
okay, to being Africanness. And I can tell you, before we got to the stage in nowhere that we are, we had every other systems. How did our ancestors deal with this? This is nothing that is new. So all these things are coming back now into being, distributed, and this information is really handy. And I think these are some of the things that, for some other reasons, and also because these webinars would actually be targeting people that really need it. It's not just for general consumption. So if there's a webinar on cancers, with Professor James Small, so the people that actually know that they want to, or they want to know about prostate cancer, because these are experiences that we have. But it's not just only that, because like we say, if we actually are not healthy, if we are not healthy, how can we fight? How can we survive? How can we protect Africa? So there's a lot of things that we need to know, even diet, the way we eat, what kind of food. But there are a lot of African spices that we don't know. And we know spices are actually not just to taste, not just for the food to taste good. The spices are really, health benefits, as we do know that food is our pharmacy. So when we say food is our pharmacy, what kind of combination? And like us African people, what are some of the roots that we are not eating? We eat a lot of pastas and other stuff? Have you eaten really cassava, fufu, yam, beans? Traditional African meal was what our ancestors actually really dealt and lived for. So this special webinars, apart from just food, even clothing. No, people don't understand that our cloth is it brings us the spirituality that we need, just like what you're putting on. If you look at the history that is inscribed and the stories of this cloth, it's not just it's not just a joke that they call it the mud cloth. And now, what is the health benefit of mud in our lives? And what is actually mud? So even a food, clothing, and like things that Professor is saying is spiritual items that we African people. That's why when we talk about not just giving our money into other economies, that really has just not that. But the actual fact is the benefit, the health benefit, even your conviction or your mental health, like Baba James, like Professor James, sort of us see him, in this mud cloth. Mentally, it's a connection to our ancestry. So everything is root. Everything is really roots. Please check up regularly as we're going to put the program, because we also have to look with the professors who will be having webinars with Maponga Joshua, with Professor James, with Bahina Bella. I mean, the real experts, and not just discussions, but those that are actually providing what we call solutions for us to stay healthy, solutions on how to Africanize our minds through our food, through our clothing, because these are all things that actually help us to grow spiritually. So I just wanted to make it clear, Professor, because
thank you, man.
Because you were talking about these things. I mean, if we look at the chemicals, there are really some chemicals that we use, particularly in Bamenda. And this chemical, they will call it today chemical, but it's a spice that we use. And most people say these are things that have helped the elders and the women not to have gotten, I don't call names. So, but these are things that will show you where to get it. We can post it to you. So we African solutions are not just only exactly like we say other solutions that we have. African solutions is, what type of food did your ancestors eat? What type of clothes? And we say we need to go back to this food. What type of roots? So this the kind of professional webinars, and honestly, they're really going to be bookable and payable, to get all these items, and also to understand that people who do it actually mean it and they need it. So thank you. I just wanted to get back to that. There's also another somebody was saying he could not donate through our website. Please just check it, because I have Professor Yuven here in studio with me, and Mama Yuven. They are all professors in holistic food and stuff. He just tested because he saw somebody was typing that they could not donate through the website, and he just did it, and everything is successful. So go to www.theafricawithk.com, and you will just see donation. When you click, you follow the different steps, and you can donate live on it. And we also have campaigns and stuff that are going on, like Professor said, and all the teachings you've been teaching us, we need to do campaigns. So today the volunteers, they created an icon campaigns. So when we have all these kind of campaigns, they're going to run on the Pan-African Daily TV website, whether it is now the campaign for Congo, Free Congo. We have a campaign that will be coming up, Stop the War in Southern Cameroon. It's called Bamenda Girls, who are coming up with the voices. So we have campaigns, we have petitions that will be running on those pages. So when we come out with something like this, we just go on, we sign those campaigns, and we channel it. So yeah, I just wanted to say that. Thank you.
That tells the whole African world why, and even the rest of the world who believe in truth, justice, righteousness, harmony, balance, and reciprocity. which is our ma'at, which is our iawapile, which is we have so many different words for it in Africa. And many of the Asian world and some of the European world believe as we do. So support us in this work. We realize that all of the world haven't been against us. We realize that those institutions, corporations, and governments that have been against us, many of their own nationals don't know that they've committed the crime they've committed against us. And that's why it's our job to help inform you so that you begin to realize that you've been betrayed by the very people you've vested yourself in, thinking they're your government and thinking that they're going out in the world to help the world. Instead, they've gone out in the African world to rob the world and to commit genocide against the world in your name. And so we believe in truth. We believe in justice. We believe in righteousness. We believe in reciprocity, And in the Yoruba, they call that iawapile. In ancient Kemet, they call that ma'at. And the Igbo, they call that omanali, So there's all these words that describe our truth, our justice, our righteousness, our harmony, our balance, So it's important that we understand that when we say we are being African, we're saying we're being the divine. We're trying to act like the divine. The divine is the model of righteousness. Okay? The divine is the model of goodness. The divine is the model of honesty and reciprocity. And that's what we're trying to imitate. That's what our cultures imitated, So, and something that I learned at Wadu CUNY by Baba Smalls, Dr. Jeffries, etc., that African ancestors worship was a healing force. I still have, come on in, little one. Hi, come. Hi, Grandpa. This is my Natalia.
Hi, Natalia. She's so
and
sweet.
This is my little bad boy this morning. He was upset, but he went to school. You all right now? Huh? All right. This is Mr. Amari. So Naja met y'all at the bus? Very good. That's why y'all so happy? Huh? You had a good day? Beautiful.
It's a weekend out there. Wonderful. So,
but it's important that they know they can come into your world all the time, and because the most you can give them is your spirit. You can give them the monies, and you can give them the clothes, and of course you got to give them the appropriate food. But the notion of love, the notion that you're a part of me and I'm a part of you, and it's okay. It's a healthy dose of medicine for children. Like the little boy this morning, something had him very upset, and he was crying getting on the bus. He didn't want to talk to me. He did tell me his bigger brother messed up his hair. So, things that would worry babies. But it upset his little spirit. But now he's letting me know his spirit is okay. And you just have to learn tolerance and understanding and have, how do you say, patience. It's a big quality to be a good parent. And I used to take my children to work with me. I'd come into my job and I'd have the stroller with the twins in it, and I have the other one. So I made a special boardroom into almost a daycare center and down the hall, because that's my job. To be a father is to also be a mother. But mother have something else to do. And think nothing of it. Just do it and be it. So that's being African to me. It doesn't make me perfected. I have all kinds of flaws, but I'm talking about my struggle to overcome the flaws in your life.
It's okay.
positive chips on the table than negative chips on the table, at the end of the day.
The great work you've been doing for the continent for the past 60 years of a variety of flaws, Professor James Small. I mean, this, who doesn't have a flaw, but 60
When
years
I get to the
teaching.
ancestors and they go to recycling, I hope they hear what you say. And they say, "Oh, Small, come sit here. I am your great mother. Boy,
All
what were
right.
you doing down there?"
I know. Right. Thank you. So, people, we're rounding up, and if there's no question, we'll ask Professor James to just round up, and then we should be departing and waiting to get our next lectures next week with him. Professor, we already treated. I know Congo is we still be going up to 8, but
there was
who are we
something you
treating
wanted to
next week?
read, Susan. There was something you want to read. You still have that?
Oh, but you already just answered the question. It was
Okay.
the petition. Remember, the text I sent to you. You already said
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
This announcement from the Rwandan government. I think we
Right.
posted
Yes,
it.
I read
Don't
that
know
one.
if everybody got it. If not, you already said it. Then the other thing that I wanted to read was what Maponga sent and posted that I posted out. But I think he would be with us, if not this weekend, next week, because somebody asked. He's back from the village. He is now connected, and we'll be having him live. I mean, he's been just throwing, even though in the village he's been writing.
Yes.
And then
I stood at Joshua's feet.
Yes, he will speak. He will speak. He's been speaking, particularly now on the issue of Rwanda. And then another Congo, sorry. Another good news that we had is that the president who was sick and went out of the country came back. The president of Zimbabwe, yeah. And apparently there was some gossips that he was poisoned or something like that. And so he went out of the country and came back, I think, a couple of days. And Joshua just posted and said, "Oh my God, he's still alive. They nearly killed him." And everything just went viral. And everybody was like checking on the video.
Beautiful,
but you see, it still comes back to why run out to go get treatment in the West.
Yeah, because you remember yesterday I was telling you how the Belgian investigation, the newspaper had investigated how the American was trying to put the poison in Patrice Lumumba's toothpaste. So when he brushed his teeth, he would be ingesting the poison that would kill him, and it would look so normal. But the African man, they wanted to do it, said, "No, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to kill my leader." Then they tried to get another man, and he said, "No, no, 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 no." So thank God for those beautiful brothers. And that's why they had the result of capturing him and shooting him. Because no one would poison him.
Yes.
So our leaders have to be very careful what we eat, what we drink, who we let touch us. They can have things on their fingernails and their fingers. They've got all kinds of chemicals. And be dealing with people who, rather than sit at a table and says, "Oh, my brother, let's make a deal on trade," would rather kill the man and put a thief in government so that he could steal our natural resources. It's so diabolical and it's so sick. So sick. It'd be so easy. Africans want to trade with the world. We want peace with everyone. We want to share our wealth, but we want something in return. You want my wealth? Bring me your technology. Help me build my hospital. Help me build our school. Help me build my freeway. Help me build my bridges. Help me build my airport. And I will pay you for it because I've got the wealth to pay you for it. But you want to come and just steal it and give me nothing in return. And then criticize me when I behave like I have nothing. An environment that you've created.
So true.
Here we are. Stephen said, the greatest weapon in the hands of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed.
The oppressed.
I'm saying the greatest weapon in the hands of the oppressed, is the mind of the oppressed.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Susan. Thank you, Pan African Daily TV world and audience. Go home and do your work. We are not
Mm,
entertainers. We are trying to be educators and instructors. Take the little bit of truth and information and instructions and guidelines we've given you and go and implement it somewhere in your life, somewhere in your family, somewhere in your community. And it
mm,
will make a difference tomorrow.
mm, mm,
Make a
mm,
difference.
mm. Brother Joe is saying, Professor James, I've been listening to you all way back since you were very much younger. Thank you for your dedication and hard work.
Thank you, Brother Joe. I've been trying. I really have been trying.
So
And have a
thank
beautiful
you everyone
African
too.
weekend, Brother Johnny. Yes,
Mhm.
sir.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we've come to the end of this session on Congo. We still keep our eyes on Congo and
Yeah.
watch out for our campaigns that will be coming out. We actually don't know how the campaigns will look like, but we're working together with the leaders to put these campaigns out there. In the near future, we'll be doing a lot of petitions as well.
I heard
But
a ball
also,
coming upstairs, and they're not supposed to play ball in the house. So I knew it was King had come home.
I know.
Say hello to Sister Susan.
Hi, Sister Susan.
How are you?
I'm
I'm not
good.
seeing you. I'm not seeing your face. Put your face on the camera. Everyone is watching you from around the world. They want to say hello to you. Oh my God, look at how sweet you are.
And this is
Oh,
oh, now
so
see
how
the
was school
whole
today?
group.
How was school today? Oh
Everybody.
my God, the whole, oh, this is so sweet.
Okay, say goodbye to Sister Susan. This is
Oh no,
Dr.
not
Susan
goodbye. Who was the one who had a
from
problem
Pan
by going
African
to
Daily
school?
TV. Oh, you took Amari. He's running.
Marie, what
Yeah,
happened?
he ran out. He ran out.
Oh wow, nice. Oh, look at
King,
you,
they
so
don't understand
sweet.
those little signs. Don't do those little signs for the
Mm.
babies. Y'all, those are baby signs. You don't do them for adults.
We going to be doing your children's program also.
Yeah,
It's
one
coming
day we
up,
need to have
okay?
all of them sit down and tell the truth on why they're such well-behaved children, right?
Yes.
Huh? Okay. Okay. All right.
Where is she?
Okay.
And
That's sweet.
Taharka, this is the one here who is that's Mr. Taharka. That's his middle name, Taharka.
Tahaka. Oh my God, you're so strong.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Professor James.
Yeah.
And who? Yeah, we love the kids. Everyone is saying greetings from Pan African Daily TV
Love
to
you,
all of
kids.
you.
Hey, thank you, John Africa.
Oh, you see?
John Africa.
Yes, John
Love you,
Africa is
kids.
his name.
All right. Now y'all go back so Susan can close the show. I'll be downstairs. Y'all
Wonderful.
wash
So
your hands and have your lunch.
lovely.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
You win. Okay. Thank you, Professor. Thank you for your
Thank you
time.
so
We
much,
still
Sister
respect
Susan.
your
Have a
love.
wonderful,
Yes.
wonderful, blessed weekend, and we will
Mhm.
talk.
Okay.
Okay, my dear.
Thank you. Thank you.
Peace and
Thank you very
blessings.
much.
Peace and blessings.
Same to you,
Thank
Professor.
you, Stevie.
Yes. Bye. Thank you. Thank you also, my beloved family. I just have one small thing to say concerning our professors. You know, we make them feel useful by giving us back. You can imagine when you get at this age and you don't have, that attention from people. So it is an honor when know that they have children that are learning. It is an honor when the elders know that they are still useful to us. So when we engage our elders to pass on the right knowledge and they give back their expertise, it's not only for us just to absorb, but it's also kind of like appreciating them. So they love it each time we come around. So we need to continuously show up, because it's an appreciation. I hear Professor James saying it all the time. Oh, I still have a lot of things to give before I leave, and so it is our time to actually take this opportunity. We don't lose anything. They have deep knowledge and deep secrets, right, that they have to share with you. That's why please look up to these webinars. They're very important. They are life-saving webinars. It's not just talking about the education of us, but how can you use this knowledge for your own self as an African? Because like we say, if each of us is healed individually, then collectively we can build a healthy world. We can build a healthy communities. Okay. So please, thank you so very much. And I want to thank all those that subscribe and donate and share and like the program. I saw a sister said, Dr. Susan can step back and get other people, to do we are open for all that. Just that we're still trying to put the necessary structures together, and the vision is very necessary. It's just not any person that we just allow on Pan-African Daily too, because of the spirit, because of the work that we do. It's not like exactly like we keep saying, we are not an entertainment. And until we train and network and really take our own staffs to another level, then we can allow any person to host. We're not talking about being a guest. Anybody can be a guest, because you have to understand the spirituality of the spaces that we're working on and the elements and the energies that surround us. So before we actually would start giving these platforms, we've done it before in the past. It was just an experience that we were gathering. But from the energy that we get is we need to actually understand ourselves. And anybody that is willing to host or be an interviewer or to do questions and answers, you really have to take a walk with us for 6 months. In the training, we have to understand your energy and every other thing. Pan-African Daily TV is not just a walk in, walk out. We tried it. We thought it was like that. But from the spirit and the energy of our ancestors, the message is clear. So I just wanted to be clear. If you want to join our hosting program, you want to join to be a host on Pan-African Daily TV, you need to apply as a volunteer. And we go through a lot of, just like we go through the libations and a lot of seminars to guide you, to understand you, the spirit that we are, because a lot of us there's a lot of attacks that we go through here. If you're really not spiritual, and it's not just a show, we're not doing shows here. It's a work. It's an ancestral work. It's a work of the nation. It is carrying the whole nation and the people with us. So we have to check ourselves a lot, check our energy. Our ancestors have to give us the go ahead. Then we go to it. So I just really just want to give this feedback. It's not like we want to stay on it or any other person. No, we need to be in check. It's not an entertainment. It's not come here, sell products. It's not come here, sell advertisement. You see, we don't do such things. All right. If you want to advertise with us, go to the website. We have the news website that is coming up. It's going to be the biggest. It's already the biggest right now. So, and we're coming up with our social media platform in the next weeks. It's our social media platform, which is really like the Facebook, and it's going to be massive. So once we are dealing and connecting with one another, we understand, like Professor said, we are spiritual being having a human experience, and we have to actually be that. So thank you so very much. Thank you. And we see us tomorrow. I think I'll be having the voices of young people from DRC. If that works out, they will be live, or King Joshua Maponga. If not, we're going to see us on Tuesday. Okay, so you have a nice time and watch it. That's why it's very necessary. Just subscribe, click the button, just click the notification button. When we come live, you just see us live. Like today, I didn't share any text. We did not share anything, but everyone just joined us because these are the people that already had subscribed and they click the notification buttons to get notified when we come live. Okay, so just go ahead and do it too. We don't need to be wasting a lot of energy. We are very small, passionate volunteer teams that are serving the continent for more than 40 years. We've been doing it. So it's not just today, right? So please We are doing the work. Yeah, we're not entertaining. We're not selling. We're not collecting subscribers to get AdSense. No, that's not what we do. We are for the work. Just like our professors, 60, 70, 80, 90 years, all the Pan-Africanists, they never were working for salaries or anything. So when we do our work, we mean it. And so we thank you for every donation and every support and every campaign and anyhow that you want to support us. Go to the website. That's where you have all the possibilities to choose how you want to support. All right. So thank you. We see us. Have a nice weekend. We love us. Ubuntu from all our heart. Bye. You are watching the Pan-African Daily TV with Dr. Susan Tata. The Africa we want. Unity, consciousness, our culture, our spirituality, our history. One Africa for Africans worldwide. Motherlands calling its diaspora home. Join my voice. Join my team. Join my campaign. Campaign 21 hashtag 1 million subscribers on the Pan-African Daily TV YouTube. Be a volunteer. Apply now. Be the new Africa.